Henry Aldrey Lee, our distinguished guest.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction. I don't know where you got all this information from, but that's nice that you took so much time. I didn't send, they asked me to send something, and I just remembered that I hadn't sent anything. But thank you so much for doing the research and getting this information on me. I am a past distinguished president of New Kingston, Kiwanis Club of New Kingston. So I still work actively, but I'm a past president. There's a current president. Well, thank you so much. I just want to begin by thanking the organizers for inviting me. It's always a privilege when somebody invites you to give thoughts on an area that you work in, because it means they think you have something to say. So I hope I don't disappoint you. But I certainly take it as a privilege. I don't underestimate the importance of being invited to speak on something that I work on. So I'm highly appreciative. I thank you very much. Congratulations on hosting this important symposium. Research is very, very important. So thanks. I'm also very pleased to see the students. As you heard, I am the coordinator of the annual Caribbean Child Research Conference, and I will make sure that you receive invitations. This year is going to be the 20th hosting of the conference, and we are hoping to have it either here but certainly in Jamaica. And so I am extending an invitation to all of you to attend the conference. We haven't settled with UNICEF the dates, but you will certainly hear about it. So listen, ask questions. I may not answer all, but I certainly want to hear from the children. Thank you so much. So the title of my paper, or presentation, I should say, and I am thinking as I prepared it in the last day, yesterday and the day before, I thought I should actually write it up, but I put it in a presentation format for now. So the title is The Role of Research in the Attainment of Social Justice and Sustainable Development. I was interested in seeing what the mission of the Trenchtown Polytechnic College was, and I was quite impressed to learn that it is to develop a community of learning that is dedicated to the pursuit of excellence. And once I see excellence, I get excited in academics, technical, vocational education, and entrepreneurship in an environment that fosters critical thinking, very important for research, self-respect, discipline, compassion, integrity, and accountability. And the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission has its own mission, which is to work with higher education institutions operating in Jamaica to ensure that they are internationally competitive. Now, as Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University for Graduate Studies and Research, and having oversight over 5 campuses when it comes to graduate studies and research, we try our best to be internationally competitive. So we are very interested in working with Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission to ensure that we remain internationally competitive, relevant. It has to, our research and our work has to be relevant and accessible. So I was very pleased to see these missions, because they coincide very well with ours at the University of the West Indies, which is to advance learning, create knowledge, and foster innovation for the positive transformation of the Caribbean and the wider world. So we have a commonality in our 3 missions, and we really are all interested in improving and enhancing the quality of life for our people in the region. So just especially for the students, I want to, and I take an opportunity to advertise UWI, of course, and it's a very exciting place. It was established in 1948. We have 5 campuses, one in Trinidad and Tobago, one in Barbados, one in Antigua, one here in Mona in Jamaica, and we also have what we call a global campus, which is an online campus. So there are lots of opportunities for undergraduate and postgraduate work. So we have about 50,000 students on all the campuses. Here at Mona, we have about 19,000, and we do research. Students do research in the master's level. They do it MPhil, they do PhD, and of course we have our academicians who continually do research. So the UWI is a very exciting place. So what is research? Well, there are so many definitions. We could spend the entire day defining research, but it's really creation of something new So when a PhD student comes to me and says, I want to do a PhD, a person who is interested in doing a PhD, I say to them, what is the new thing that you're going to add to what we already know about this issue? So if you want to do crime, we have had lots of books and articles about the crime. What is it that you're going to add to the literature? What would you add to the policy recommendations? So for me, research has to bring something new to the table. Okay, and it usually is to answer a question. So we are not particularly sure about something, so we want to answer the question, we want to provide insight, and we want to provide recommendations. Very exciting process. I love research. So, and I really ask you to think about it in a very serious way. So sustainable development, you would have spent time yesterday, I am sure, thinking about what it means, and it certainly is development that meets the needs, the current needs of our people without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. So we have to leave a world that is hospitable, that is livable for the next generation. So a lot of climate change and climate action comes in there, but we certainly have to ensure that what we leave for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, they can live in a very wonderful world. There's a lot of talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them, and when people talk about sustainability and sustainable development, they align themselves to this UN goals that I think you should take some time, if you have never heard of them, to read about them, because all the countries are aligned with these goals. They are trying to realize them by 2030. Whether or not they will is another story, but we have committed, Jamaican government and others have committed to fulfill these goals, which we call SDGs. So I thought it was important to add it in the situation. Now, at UWI and other places, we try to pursue inclusive education. Inclusive education means that everybody has a place at the school, and we are trying our best to fulfill the needs of the students. So for example, at UWI, we have what we call the Center for Disability Studies. We have services for students with disabilities because we don't want to exclude anybody, and so we try to ensure that our education is inclusive, and I think that's what we need to do if we are to fulfill the SDG for education anyway. So in other words, education must fit the diversity of learners that we find or should find in every school, in every classroom. And we can have an entire discussion on inclusive education, but I know you want to hear more about research, so I will move on. Inclusive development means that everyone has access to those goods and services that will provide them with appropriate opportunities to fulfill self-realization. So we can't have a situation where some people in the community are allowed to get good quality education, for example, while others do not have any access. Social justice, and this is one of my favorites in terms of a goal that we must always keep and maintain ahead of us at all times. Social justice is aimed at promoting a society which is just and equitable, valuing diversity and providing equal opportunities for all its members. And there's a fair allocation of resources and support for their human rights. I can't think of many societies that have achieved that ideal situation, but we continue to strive for social justice, okay? And for me, it is an outcome which can be obtained through just and fair processes. So some types of social injustice that we at the university engage in and try to study. We have economic inequalities, and that is the distribution of the disparities in the wealth. For example, in Jamaica, we have 12.3% of persons living below the poverty line. We are told that 3/5 of the wealth in Jamaica is owned by 10% of the population. So these kinds of disparities, we want to go to the root of the problem, we want to know the causes, and that's why social justice and research are intricately linked, because there's no way we can move out of a situation in the world, the disparities, the inequities, the inequalities, if we don't study the causes, the roots, and try to get solutions. Geographical discrimination, and having studied a lot in the inner city, doing research in the inner city persons would tell me, if they mention where they are from, there is a different tone in terms of an interview. The interviewer will say, oh, you know, you'll hear from us, and they know they never get the job. So there's still quite a bit of what we call geographical discrimination, where people have to actually lie and say, I am from uptown rather than downtown. So we continue to struggle with that, but it's just one of those things that still bothers me as I work with the young people from the inner city. Racial injustice, we may not have the divide in terms of black and white as clearly here, but we have what we call colorisms, you know. So we have a situation where somebody who is of lighter complexion may get more privileges than somebody of a darker complexion. We still have to study that, and this is one of the injustices that take place. Gender inequality, we still know, although we have made much improvement in terms of women accessing resources and positions and being in higher positions, we still know that in the home there's gender violence. We know that women get lower pay in some instances. So there are things that we struggle with when it comes to gender inequality, although we have made great strides. And I must say, we have made excellent strides over the years, but these inequalities, we cannot let them fester. We have to deal with them. Educational inequalities, we know what happens at PEP, that there are schools with brand name and schools with no brand name, and if you pass for a school with no brand name, you're almost ashamed to tell people where you pass for, and I don't think our children should continue to suffer this indignity, what I call indignity, and so we have to find a way to ensure that all our high schools have the same level and good quality education, because no child should be ashamed to say where he or she has passed for. But this happens, and the pressure to pass, the pressure to get your first choice, the extra lessons, you know, it's just inhumane the way our children have to continue to suffer and reduce their work time. I have a little boy in Sunday school. He sleeps throughout the Sunday school. I just let him sleep because he's so tired. After he leaves me, he has to go to Sunday school. He has to go to extra lessons. Now, why would you be going to extra lesson on Sunday? I think that's an injustice. That is the type of injustice that I don't like, especially where children are concerned. So we have to think of a way that parents do not feel obliged to send their children for extra lessons. And I could continue on this topic, but I have to behave myself, you know, and move on. Healthcare disparities, we know that, you know, persons who have money will obviously access healthcare, better healthcare than others. We have criminal justice inequalities. Persons who have no money will have less access to good quality justice representation. They may be even arrested in a different way. They may be, you know, treated in court in a different way. So we know we have those types of injustices. Disability discrimination, although we have our Disability Act, which we passed some years ago, we still know that in terms of persons with disabilities, there are still barriers for education, employment, etc. And climate change disparities, which is a growing interest of mine, in the fact that the poorer countries, or the developing countries, are the ones who are feeling the negative effects of climate change. And we know, when I have an example here, for Beryl, we lost about 67 million US in July 2024. That was the loss, 67 million US dollars. That was the impact of the damage. So we know that we have to continue to look at those things. Okay, so research, coming to the topic. research. Now, I want to say it sounds frightening, and some students, when they talk to me, they say, oh, how am I going to manage my research? I'm so scared. But the fact is that every day we carry out research. You meet a young man, talking to the ladies, he is interested in you, you're going to do your research, your subjective research. You might ask his friends, you might call his neighbors, you might, look at him, observe him. That's what we call participatory observation. You ask questions. So you do your own research, and if after you do your research, you find that, he's somebody that doesn't have good manners, nobody has anything good to say about him, would you continue with him, girls? No, right. And the same thing for the boys. So you meet a girl, she looks nice, she seems very pleasant, very quiet, but you're going to find out about her before you settle with her, because you want to know if this is somebody you could bring home, okay? And in the same way, when we want to buy something, we want to buy a new car, we're going to call around, find out the prices of the car, decide whether we want it to be automatic, whether shift gear. So research is happening all the time, and I tell students, don't be afraid of it. You are doing it every day. It's just that you don't even know it's research. It's not as sophisticated as what we do in our academic studies, but it is research. So for students, I don't want you to be ever afraid of research. It's an exciting process, even if it's you alone doing that piece of research, okay? I'm getting a house, etc. These are examples of us doing research all the time. So, the non-university, I know I'm going to focus on university next, but I wanted to say that there are very important pieces of research happening, and I want to commend the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, I want to commend Planning Institute of Jamaica, and those of us who don't know about these reports and pieces of survey, please go online and read them. Very important information. The census is a wonderful data set. You get to know the profile of the community, you get to know the profile of the population. Very good. You have Jamaica's Survey of Living Conditions. Again, excellent information on poverty, food insecurity. I have a copy on my laptop and I always refer to it. Very, very good information. Jamaica Labor Force Survey, annual National Income Survey, Survey of Employment Earnings and Hours Worked, and that's done monthly. So I just wanted to know that while we do university work and we do university research, there are the government itself and these agencies are carrying out very impactful research which informs the policy. They may not follow all of it as much as we want, but we know that they are important. So, academic research, there are different stages. In the interest of time, I would tell you that it moves from conceptualization. You think about something and you say, I want to know more about it. You conduct a literature review. That's what I tell my students. You have to conduct a literature review, because if you don't, you will be writing maybe something that somebody has already written. So it's very important when you start research for academics that you do a literature research to find out whether or not the topic that you are interested in has already happened, okay? So any of you students have done literature reviews? You know what I'm talking about? Where you find out, you would have done it for, if you're doing CAPE, you would have to do that. So after you have done the literature review, you ensure that you develop your research questions and hypothesis, then you select a research methodology. I could spend an hour talking about research methodologies. They are quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods. It's a very exciting world of methodologies out there, and every day there are others, and there are methods that you can use: face-to-face interviews, elite interviews, qualitative focus group, site observation. It's very exciting. It's like a buffet. You have all these methods and all these procedures, and you have to decide which one you want and answer. And I tend to go for mixed methods, which gives me the qualitative and the quantitative, because I think the qualitative gives me more in-depth look. So I get a figure from the survey that says 40% of women say that gender violence is caused because there is insecurity on the part of the man. I prefer to have a focus group discussion, I prefer to have the women in front of me and say, okay, so many of you said this, what is behind this statistic? The qualitative survey and the qualitative work helps me to go behind the figures. And so it's very exciting. Anyway, I have to behave myself. So, yeah, so after we do that, we collect the data, we analyze the data, and we write up our report. And usually, academics go to the journal articles. They want to put it on, they want to put on a conference paper, etc. But for policy, we tend to try to disseminate the information by having a workshop, inviting public sector persons to hear what we have found. Very exciting process, and this is examples. I took a picture of it this morning, but these are examples of research institutes at Mona. We have the Caribbean Institute for Health Research. We have Capri Caribbean Policy Institute. We have the nuclear. We have a nuclear center. We have biotechnology, and we have so many. We have Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies that I was associated with up to recently. So there are several. You can go online and see them. But I just wanted you to know that we are intricately involved in that. Our amount that we get, we actually get funds to do research, and you will have seen over the years, that's a picture I took, so that's why you see the camera at the bottom. But we have increased the amount of money that we spend on research. So, research for social justice and sustainable development. So we say that research provides us with a fundamental tool in identifying social disparities, evidence-based solutions, informing policy decisions, and developing innovative solutions for challenges. So here I want to give you some examples of research that we have carried out. Identifying inequalities, we have Professor Floyd Morris, a blind professor who has done a lot of work on cultural inclusion, the case of persons with disabilities in Jamaica. We have Arlene Bailey, who has looked at ICTs, and you know how important it is to look at the technological side of it, and the SDGs. I have led a team funded by UNDP that looked at the impact of COVID-19 and providing policy recommendations to UNDP. So these are examples I wanted to show you. In terms of policy development, we have an Institute of Gender and Development Studies. We have done a lot of gender policies where we advise people in the Caribbean governments, how to ensure they get gender equality. We have led an evaluation of the National Poverty Eradication Program, and Eldimaya Shearer did a very good piece of work where she looked at the status of the elderly and what we can do to improve the situation of the elderly. Am I running out of time? Okay. Yeah, I can get away with myself sometimes, so I have to calm down. All right, so empowering marginalized communities, and it's very important that while we do research, that we involve the persons that we are researching. So we talk about participatory research methods, and I love that part of it. And we go to the community and we ask the community the questions. In fact, we should really conceptualize the research with them. So you want to know crime in an inner city in community X, you shouldn't just sit in your office and come up with the research questions. You should really go there, talk to some gatekeepers, talk to people there and say, okay, what are some of the issues that you too want to have a better understanding of in the community? And so I have been part of studies like that where we speak to the members of the community. So this is one where we were looking at the access to energy and electricity. What types of electricity sources do you use? And then we had Terry-Ann, who was doing a consultation where she was asking people, what did you think of the Millennium Development Goals, which came before the SDGs? Do you remember those? the 8 Millennium Development Goals. Now we have 17 SDGs, so our university was part of getting from Jamaicans, what do you think happened with the the Millennium Development Goals, and what should we focus on for the next 30 years? So again, very important work. And I wanted to bring that out because I know people look at the university and say, what is it they really do? You know, sometimes if you say, I didn't know you all used to do so much work. We do a lot because we have nearly every department carries out research. And so it's very important for us to know that why we carry out research not only for the personal satisfaction of getting promoted, but also to inform policy. So I've pulled out those that I believe could give you an example. So we have looked at legal and human rights advocacy, and we have provided information for the status of persons with disabilities. Very important. Just concluded, in 4 countries, we say to the CDB, this is where you should focus on in terms of increasing access for persons with disabilities. Then critical Caribbean perspectives on preventing gender-based violence. And then we also have the Bihola, who does a lot of work on legal aspects of human rights law. So we continue. What is this? Okay, economic studies, we have David Tennant, we have Michelle McLeod, we have Nadine McLeod, all looking at different aspects of economic development. And these recommendations are very critical for the improvement of the state in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Now, health is very important. I think I don't have many more after this. Health in relation to health inequalities, we spend a lot of time. We have a university hospital where our students contribute to the improvement and the health of Jamaicans. We have our own Faculty of Medical Sciences, and they carry out new research, find innovative ways to deal with illnesses. We also have the Caribbean Institute for Health Research, which is excellent in terms of trying to improve the health. So we have this example of the Jamaica Lifestyle Survey, which is a very important one, which is a series of surveys which provide a monitor and evaluation framework to address non-communicable diseases and to identify the gaps to develop national policies and programs for health and wellness. Then we have the UE team also helped with the Jamaica Injury Surveillance Program. You would know that we have violence problem. We have violence is a public health problem in Jamaica. And so we have contributed to the policy landscape by developing a surveillance system which tells us the types of injuries, how many people, where they are, etc., and what are the possibilities of improving the incidence of injuries throughout the nation. Very important work. And I wanted to conclude this section by looking at the UWI COVID-19 task force. We were a regional task force that looked at COVID-19 and the impact and how we could control the impact of COVID-19 on the Caribbean people. And this is Professor Clive Landis, who is the current principal of KVIL, and he led, so he's a medical doctor himself, so he was able to get intricately involved. So a lot has been happening by UE. We don't talk about it. We don't go on the mountain and shout, and we don't go on the radio and talk about it. But this is just a snapshot of what it is we do. Of course, there are some challenges when we try to implement impactful research that helps us reduce social justice and ensure sustainable development. We have limited funding. We don't have, except for the university, we don't have a consistent infrastructure in the Caribbean to continue to do research, especially longitudinal research. I am very interested in being able to finance longitudinal research that would look at the impact of some of a phenomenon through the years. And these are the best type. So if something happens in 2024, you follow for the next 10 years, but that takes time. So usually we do snapshot research, which is not as inclusive and as impactful as if we would have a longitudinal or one that is a long term for 10 years. Anyway, evidence base is not universally accepted. Sometimes you have governments, and has happened to me, will call you, I'm not saying which government, but they'll call you and they say, do a piece of research for me. You give them recommendations, nothing happens. And then 10 years later, somebody knocks it down and says, oh, I heard you did a piece of research on this. Can I get a copy? Or if not, can you tell me if anything has changed? And of course, nothing much has changed. So there's a way in which we have to find that translation of the findings and the recommendations into policy. The political will has to be better throughout the Caribbean. That even if you don't like the findings, but you have spent time to get the information, let us implement the recommendations. So there's little engagement, a lot of work at the university, and I blame us, a lot of engagement. That's why I'm so excited to be here, because we keep ourselves in the ivory tower, inverted commas, and we don't tell people about what we do. We don't disseminate our findings. And sometimes with the language that we use, people don't understand. So we give them all these graphs and all these fancy terms, and they're not understanding. So I take the blame for our researchers that we have to speak the language to make it inclusive, because social justice cannot be excluding people from understanding the findings that you have about them. So we have to find a way to make the findings more user-friendly. We have to go to remote parts of the country, though not only the rural areas. We have the urban areas. We have this urban bias. We have to take ourselves outside. So I talked to the researchers about it, and so we need to inadequate accountability, I think, is important, that after we have done a piece of work, we ask the state or the non-state actors who are involved, what have you done? So that accountability is there, and it's very weak. So how do we ensure that we increase the impact on social justice and sustainable development? We involve the beneficiaries in the discussion of the conceptualization and implementation. We define the problem. User-friendly, I've already said that. And of course, include monitoring and evaluation processes and the implementation of all policies and programs. So when a policy is being developed in a ministry, there should be an operational plan. That operational plan should have monitoring and evaluation processes. We have experts at the university. If we have a paucity of resources in-house, because there's no point in implementing a program or a policy and you don't have the monitor and evaluation side of it, because that's how research will impact policy, will reduce social justice, will make sure that you have sustainable development and you have better outcomes. Okay, so what's the way forward? We have to increase, just one more slide after that, just increase investment in research funding and infrastructure. We have to strengthen our regional research collaboration. Even within UE, we find that we could improve the way in which we study a phenomenon that affects the entire Caribbean. So I shouldn't be looking at childhood here and there's somebody looking at it in St. Augustine. Why don't we join and see whether we can get some commonality in our studies? So we have been talking about that. Have to have more access to data. Anybody should be able to say, okay, all this data that you presented today, can I find it? I want to use it for my CAPE and my CXC assessments. They should be accessible to you. It shouldn't be something you have to pay for. So we have to find a way to ensure that our students, both within the university and outside the university, have access to very important pieces of research. We have to encourage all our indigenous, some people in the remote areas, the Maroons and so on. We need to ensure that our indigenous people are involved in the research that we do. I think there are some understudied communities that we have to include. Public engagement. This is a perfect example today, and of course I'm quite excited and could speak for another hour. I know you would walk out, but I am very excited that we have an opportunity to engage with you, to talk about the importance of research and the policy process, to encourage you to do research. I really want to say that it's very important to apply the research findings to our lives and to make our leaders accountable to what we have said in terms of recommendations. Okay, so I thank you very much, and as I said, I could go on and on, but I thank you for the opportunity to tell to you a little about research and how we can use the findings to reduce social injustice and ensure that we have sustainable development. Thank you so much.
Wow, this has been a timely and engaging topic. Looking at research through the lens of social justice and sustainable development. It is critical that if we are going to grow as a nation, that all three must be combined and considered. And we'd like to say thank you very much, Professor Audrey Henry Lee, for bringing our attention to some of these critical matters. And we're going to share a little token with you to show our love. I left it. Okay. And so, on behalf of the organizers and everyone listening here today, we thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, she wanted us to pose for the camera. Okay. All right. And I know you have many questions, but just before, we have a few tokens that we want to give away, especially to our students. And so we're going to ask one or two quick questions about the presentation that you just heard. And I know you're bubbling and you are ready to go. And so the first question that I want to ask is about social justice. What is social justice? And what are some examples of the types that she spoke about? Any bright student? Well, you're all bright, you know. But any one of the bright ones in front of me. All right. I can only give you 10 more seconds or it won't be valid. All right, go ahead. The microphones can be turned on. They're working. All right, just speak loudly if it's not working.
One of the many social justice that she spoke about was economic inequality.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Meaning the pay rate among many workers within the area, it's not equal, it's not even. The pay is not even.
Okay, thank you. And what is social justice? What is social justice?
Social justice would be identifying a problem and executing it, making everyone's life, making one of everyone's life.
All right, so he gave his own twist to it right there. Professor? Yes, all right. Give him a round of applause. And so we have a little token for you today. You can come up. Come right up. Come right up. Let them all see you. Don't be shy. Okay. All right. I don't know where I should stand up. All right. Thank you. You did well. What's your name?
My name is Richard Williams.
Richard Williams from Charlie Smith High School. All right. And he's a youth counselor, so no doubt Mr. Williams is going to go back to be an advocate for research, for social justice, and for sustainable development in Jamaica. Now we have another question for another student. And this one is about research. What is research? And give us some of the steps in the whole research cycle. You have 10 seconds. If I go longer than that, the answer is no longer valid. What is research? You can use your own words, you know, because the ultimate researcher creates and innovates. Go ahead, stand up. He wasn't asked to stand. All right, I'll be. You've said enough. You've said enough. So research is building new knowledge and executing it. All right. Thank you for giving us your definition of research right there. Come and receive your prize. Do you know any of the steps, or someone else wants to give us some of the steps? All right. There's a hand. Not quite what I was looking for, but I'm still going to give you a token. So she's here. Where is the young lady? The first one. Okay, she's here. All right. And what's your name?
Felicia Atkins from Charlie Smith High School.
Felicia Atkins from Charlie Smith High School. I'm going to have to get your other token later, but I know you'll accept. I'm giving her 6 pencils, and these are for good luck in her final exam. What's your name? All right, Keisha Dennis. Keisha Dennis of Charlie Smith High School. Okay. And so Charlie Smith was early, so they heard all of the early information and they were able to answer the questions. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful. And so now we are ready for your questions and your comments as it relates to, yes.
Hi, morning everybody. All right, so my question is a two-part one. All right, so the first question is, now that I've had my research paper, it addresses a gap in the literature. Could you walk us through the process of getting published? Because I suspect many of us here are daunted by research because we don't understand. So could you walk us through that process of publishing an academic research? That's part one. Part two of my question is, all right, thank you. So part two of my question is, we have so many students here, and almost or maybe all are doing CSEC, and they are required to do an SBA. How can we encourage our students who do SBAs to publish some of these research?
Yeah, excellent questions. And when you finish a piece of research, you might think, oh, I've reached, everything is okay. You write up your journal article, but I say to young researchers, you have to go to the article in which you want to publish. So for example, you want to look at a journal of public health, sociology of public health, you are going to go online, find out all what you can about the journal of public health, find out if they have published similar articles like yours. So you have been looking at HIV/AIDS and the issue of inequality there. Go online, find out all the information you can about that journal and the similar articles, because what you want to do is to cite the previous researchers so that the persons who are reviewing your article say, she is building on what was said before. So what you would say You do your HIV and social inequality in Jamaica. I have written about it. Mary Brown has written about it in the same journal. You say this article builds on the work of Henry Lee and Brown, 2000 whatever, and is filling the gap of XYZ. That's what editors like to see. They like to see what is the new thing that you're going to bring to the table. So look at the journal, see the similar articles that are there, use them as a basis to move on. When you submit your article, and look at all the instructions. A lot of times people get the papers rejected because we don't listen, we want to do our own thing. I always have problems with students because they answer their own questions in the exam and then complain when they don't get an A. But they haven't answered the question that I asked. They answered their own question. So obviously we are not on the same page. So you look at the instructions. If it says 3,000, no more than 3,000 words, don't give 5,000. If they say use Time Romans, don't use another font. Things like that because there are lots of articles coming in and they just fling them out if you're not following that. When you have gone through and you've done your wonderful article, they send it out for review to 3 blind reviewers. They don't know it's Aldrich Henry Lee that has submitted it. 2 of them might say yes. If 2 say yes, it's published. If all 3 say no, no publish. If 1 says no, no publish. If there's a maybe, then they send it to a 4th person. These persons will give you all the comments. They'll say, good article, but you didn't give me a gender differentials in terms of your recommendation. Is there a particular recommendation for women, a particular for men? So they give you all the comments. You make sure that even if you grumble under your breath, you address those issues in the article, send them back, showing them that you have covered all of that, and your paper is published. That is excellent. So that's the process. It's a humiliating one in a way, I should say humbling one, because you have written this, and it's happened to me, you've written this fantastic paper in your mind, you send it out, and then you get all these comments coming in, and they say, you have to build here, build there. But just humble yourself, sit down. Even if I'm a professor, I take my little comments, sit down, make the corrections, send it back, and show them in highlighted where I've done it. And most times, if not all, they will publish it. So that's for the academic paper. For the students, there are, and I'm speaking because I'm the coordinator of the Caribbean Child Research Conference. There is an opportunity to publish with us. We have actually published the essays and the research papers of persons who are presented at that annual conference. So this is an opportunity to say, I have published but publishing, you have to make sure that your methodology is sound. And one of the issues I have with some of the papers that are presented, the teachers, there's evidence that the teachers need some training. So we are actually going to do some more training. We used to do it, but money ran out. So we are going to, for this 20th one, we are going to train the teachers. What is a research method? What is a representative sample? What is a mixed method approach? Because the students sometimes just interview 2 people, and then they say, all children said, and they make it that they generalize to everybody, and that's not. So those are the pitfalls, and we would not want to publish something like that. So I think it's on us who are organizing the conference to train the teachers and train the students themselves. So I know for sure that with UNICEF we will be putting on research methods, online workshops, so look out for them. I will keep in touch with the conference organizers so that I can let them know when that is happening. But yes, there's an opportunity for publishing. The interest in surprisingly, the students come up with their own topic areas. So I'm not sure what happens in the class, but I would say for us, the Caribbean Child Research Conference, anything with child rights, anything with sustainable development goals, we would be interested in you presenting at the conference later this year. And you can get it published afterwards, as long as it's a sound research paper. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost out of time. We can take one more question, but before that, we want to ensure that our lovely children on our right also get the opportunity to answer a question and win a prize. I want to see those smiles now, getting ready. All right. You can just tell us one thing that you've learned today, and then we'll take your questions, sir. One thing that you've learned today since you've been at the conference. That's one question. And then question number 2, if you could research anything you wanted, what would you research? Anybody? I remember you have 10 seconds. So one thing that you've learned, and if you could research anything, what would you research? All right, should I take the next question? I'd wanted to get the little gift, you know. It's a nice little gift I have here. All right, let's hear. Come on.
I would research. I would research child's rights.
What about child rights?
Come na bill na easy. Bill. Bill na?
No, I'm asking you.
Murder me a shit.
No, it's okay. You can tell us why you're interested in that topic. Don't be shy. Say it. Say it. All right, going once, going twice. We're really running out of time. We can't wait forever. All right, speak louder because the microphone doesn't seem to be working.
I would research children's rights because personally I would want to prevent kids from going through disasters and problems at homes and schools.
Okay, thank you. So you want to look at some of the preventative measures that we can put in place to prevent kids from going through disaster at home and school, and you've seen some of that happen. All right, come and collect your prize, and we trust that you'll be able to conduct that research someday. And that is an important part of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Somebody must have learned something.
If you say what you've learned, you get an extra prize. You want the extra prize? All right, she said she don't want no extra prize. All right, come and tell us your name and your school. All right, Anastasia Piper from Norman. Anastasia Bygrave from Norman Manley High School. Let's go over here to do the presentation. All right, we have the picture? All right, thank you. All right, so since nobody from Norman Manley wanted to say what they've learned, I'll throw it open to everybody. Anybody can say what they've learned, then we'll take the question and we'll close this section. All right, Charlie Smith is ready. Norman Manley, I feel like one of the boys, you don't want to say what you've learned? Come on, I'm trying to give them another chance. No? All right. Huh? All right, so it was now.
One of the main points that I will take away from today's presentation is about inclusive education. In other words, today, inclusive education has taught me that every child can learn and every child must learn.
Thank you. All right, so we'll give you your prize, and while you're coming up, you can get ready to ask the question. Come quickly. Felicia Atkins, everyone. All right, Charles Smith High School. Well done. Thank you so much. We'll take the question now, and then we'll close this session.
Thank you, Professor. Just one.
They're excellent questions, and I grapple with the first one all the time because students come to me and say, boy, this research thing is so frightening, and I have registered for this master's or MPhil, and or I have a coursework even at undergraduate level, and I have to do research, and how do I start, you know? So I think for me, because I do a lot of one-on-one, I have to calm them down and I have to say, listen, research is fulfilling. You need to read more about the topic itself, and as you read, you fill in the gaps. So you now have become a critique. So I say, even me, you can take a paper of mine and you look at, I look at childhood and say, but you know, Henry Lee could have looked at the boys and not only the girls or something. So start by building your confidence in reading the literature review and being like a teacher, an examiner. Where is it that this research, what is it this research needs to do to improve what it is saying? And I think through reading, they build confidence. The thing I've found is that students don't like to read, so that makes it a little difficult. You know, they prefer to watch a movie or to do these social media things. They don't like reading. So I say, okay, you don't like reading, try to get these audio books. Put the book buy it, you have to buy it, and let it talk to you if you don't like to read. Because a researcher, a good researcher, must love reading. There's no way you can research properly if you don't read. So we have to overcome that hurdle in the young people. And how do we do it? Audio, videos, try to get videos of the book, try to get videos on the topic, but at the end of the day, there are some things that are not transferable to the audio, so you have to take the book and read. So develop your reading skills, learn how to read and summarize, and ensure that you become confident by looking at what persons have done before and where you can fill in the gap. The other thing is, for us to make our students get more self-confident, we put them out there. We say, come and present at seminars, come present at our conferences. The more you present is the more confidence that you have. I used to be very shy in Form 5. If somebody ever asked me to come up here and say nothing, I would be just like them, putting my head down and running. But after a while, you practice, you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. So every time I have a presentation, I say, how would I have improved? And I write a note to myself. So that's the way you do it. You self-critique all the time, you build your confidence, you put yourself out there. You'll make mistakes, just like I congratulate those persons who answer. Let's give the students a round of applause. Even if they were not perfect, but that's how you build your confidence. And there's nothing wrong in saying something wrong. That's part of it. So I want the students here to build their confidence. When you come to conferences like this, speak up. It doesn't matter what you say. Persons just love to hear children talk. You have that sensitivity. We are very, very sensitive to you. So whatever you say, we think it's marvelous. So don't be afraid and ashamed to talk. Okay, so build confidence, read a lot, fill in the gaps, and find an opportunity to discuss your work, to present your work. That's how you build up your excitement. But we at the university also have to help by putting on training sessions and ensuring that the teachers, the students are doing the right thing, because research, academic research is rigorous. It has to have integrity, and it has to be ethical. So we can't just say everything is research. When it comes to the academic, you have to be very careful. But we have to train more, okay? I hope I answered. The second one, lessons from the research day. I think what we would have liked to see is the policy makers. I think where we have a gap in our research days and our research, even when we have conferences, we are not seeing the policy implementers there. I don't know how to get them to come to the table and discuss with us. We send the reports, we do policy briefs, but it would be nice to have the cabinet in front and say, okay, this is where you could improve your economics. Hey, you prefer your child programs. So we get, you invite the minister, he invites a technical officer or somebody, but you want to get to the highest level, and I think we still have this big gap where we don't get the implementers, the people who make the decisions. Yes, the permanent secretaries and all of that, they will do well, but we want the persons like the ministers and the prime minister and the deputy prime minister to hear and listen to us in order to make that decision, because they have the decision, the deciding power. So I think we are still not there where we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our first plenary session. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience and for all of the questions and answers and comments. Remember, an important part of research, social justice, and sustainable development is being brave enough to take up space, ask your questions, get your answers. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
man, I did do better the last moderator. I want the same vibes. Let me hear it again. Good morning. Yeah, now we're talking. So before I introduce our next plenary speaker, let me just welcome members of the Ministry of Education, in particular, Miss Michelle DeGoot. Brownstone is here with us as well, VTDI, Norman Manley High School, Charlie Smith High School, Immaculate Conception, University of Cayman Islands, the MICO, J-TEC, which is my alma mater, and we have Professor Barrett from there, Deputy President. We also have Drewsland Parenting Association, the Online University of Cayman, we have CASE, and we have J-TEC, which I'm a part of as well. We have Trenchtown Polytech College, who are part of the processes that we're enjoying today. And my name is Petegewa, and I'll be moderating this section for you. Oh, what group is behind Norman Manley? Which school are you on this side? Oh, T-Valley there. Okay. Currently working as the head of partnership and UN liaison of UNESCO, IESALC, Ms. Bozwan Lililu has been leading consensus making among multi-stakeholder to promote transforming education, establishing partnerships to support increasing access and quality of higher education, leading South-South cooperation on strategic higher education planning and financing. At the same time, she is also leads the Young People Transforming Education project, organizing a global mapping exercise and intergenerational dialogues with Youths for Youths to promote student-led innovation solutions in education. Prior to taking on management responsibilities, she has worked for UNESCO since 2020 as a policy analyst on higher education with a focus on innovation. In 2018, as the technical focal point of UNESCO to NUM, I'm still learning to pronounce it, NUMI, I got it right, No Me Base, Ministry of Education. You see, when the lady said to us that we practice as we go, we practice as we go. Ministry of Education to provide support on NUMBI's National ICT Policy Revision and Implementation Plan, and in 2015, as a publication intern at UNESCO HQ on open educational resources and mobile learning higher education convention and education assessment for MDGs. In parallel with her role at UNESCO, she also has been an expert group leader, leading 28 experts for the focus group on environmental efficiencies for artificial intelligence, AI, and other emerging technologies. At International Telecommunication Union, the United Nations Specialized Agency for Information and Communication Technologies since 2020, and successfully launched the technical report on guidelines on the implementation of eco-friendly criteria for AI and other emerging technologies. Let's welcome Ms. Lu to us in Jamaica, and she's all the way in China.
Thank you so much, colleagues. It's really, really an honor to meet all of you. And I hope it's not too late to say Happy New Year, and really hope that the new year has started off very well for everyone. And we have been working really closely with Jamaica, both at ministerial levels and at institutional level. And we really hope that we can even strengthen this partnership this year and move further with more engagement from institutional, individual, regional, and national level. And with that said, for today's session, I would like to provide an overview on the cross-regional partnership to promote science, technology, and innovation that UNESCO ESA has been doing together with another UN agency, specifically the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, which Jamaica is part of it. So with that said, thank you so much again, and let's crack through this presentation together. And after this presentation, if there's any questions or comments, I'd be more than happy to have further communication with all of you. So with that said, a little information about the South-South University Cooperation Network that was co-launched by UNESCO, ESOC, and the UN Office of South-South Cooperation. Let's say that as of yesterday, we have had the coverage of 43 universities across 22 countries, but we all have to start somewhere. And where we started was actually back in 2023 at COP28, when we realized that it is essential for a South-South Cooperation Network to be launched with a specific starting point, which is sustainability. However, the idea to promote South-South University cooperation is not new. And if you may be familiar, there's this World Higher Education Conference that UNESCO has been organizing for years, and it only takes place every 10 years. The last one actually took place in 2022, May 2022 in Barcelona, which one of the main outcomes is that when it comes to international exchanges, what should we do to complement the existing efforts that we have? And one of the conclusions is really on the urgency and the importance to strengthen South-South cooperation, especially considering the shared challenges and the higher possibility of the transferability of solutions at institutional level, which can affect university teaching and learning, research engagement, as well as management and administration. So in order to address this, let's say, urgency and the demand from higher education stakeholders, UNESCO have been really calling for partnership, especially with the UN Office of South-South Cooperation, specialized in this regard, so that we can contribute from our comparative advantages to make sure that when we onboard higher education stakeholders, we are prepared to professionally engage everyone and to make sure that it does have specific down-to-earth actions that we can move forward. And considering that we are really halfway past the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the progress, not to say that the pandemic did all, but also there's a pushback or a delayed progress caused by the pandemic. We need new strategies to move forward with what we do for sustainability. So sustainability became the angle that we started. And with that said, when we launched in December 2023 at COP28, it was really just a pilot, because we are also at this trying and learning all together mode to explore what concretely can we do within the South-South University Cooperation Network. And within this pilot, we have decided, okay, let's start with this action-based approach if what we're hoping for the future is for all different stakeholders to work together for certain projects and certain initiatives that really entails in concrete actions. So with that said, the different components that's included with this pilot are, number one, research and baseline study. So we started with onboarding what we identified as the brave warriors at the beginning for leader universities that really represent the leadership selected from the 4 Global South regions. That's based on, for example, the reputation, the infrastructure, the research capacity, and their current status of international exchanges. And once they are onboarded, we started with this baseline mapping on the sustainability initiatives of those leader universities, and specifically on if there's any South-South engagement at the moment, and if so, are they with universities or are they with different partners? And during this collaboration, who are involved? Are they just university managers or just professors, just researchers, just students, or let's say a combination of all, even beyond the different stakeholders that I mentioned? It has been an approach of really, the interview to understand really in depth of the different levels of understanding. So the institutional coordination efforts among itself, together with the engagement satelliting to the government, to the industry, to the community. And then upon doing that, we started with, let's say, an intergenerational approach for a boot camp that focuses on science, technology, and innovation for sustainability. I mean, there are so many things that we can do for sustainability, especially that if there are 17 goals in total. However, what we hope to achieve through the pilot is really on understanding the role of science, technology, and innovation, as well as their concrete applications towards, to start with, SDG 13 on climate change, and what higher education through SDG 4 on education can actually provide to support this process. And this boot camp was really taken an intergenerational approach, because among the members for each team, 3 to 5 of them are students from different backgrounds. So beyond the intergenerational, it's also an interdisciplinary approach. So we have at least one student from engineering, at least one from business or communication, and at least one that's from social studies or social sciences overall. So altogether, the students will have, let's say, more or less a comprehensive background on what they can do from identification of problems and climate change challenges at community levels or institutional level, to actually moving to the solutions and understanding the feasibility of the solutions, guided by the intergenerational stakeholders, including the professors, researchers, and managers. So for each team, beyond the 3 to 5 students, there's also one researcher or professor together with one manager in understanding this realistic middle ground on what we can do from an institutional level in supporting the young people at individual, or let's say combined individual level, to really act on the solution that they have. So the bootcamp itself has been, let's say at this stage, only launched with the leader universities, which in the case of Jamaica, we have onboarded University of West Indies to really be engaged throughout the process. And we do have, different students who join the team, which I think is in the later on slides that I will cover. And beyond that, we also have the working group being prepared last year upon, let's say, the stabilization of the bootcamp. And this is the point when we started outreaching not only to the leader universities, but also more diverse universities from the different regions. Some may be very strong in research, some may be very strong in teaching and learning, some may be very strong in specifically, doing this institutional transformation toward more efficiency. They're all very diverse, and in total, we reach out to 72 potential member universities, and have onboarded to today 33 beyond the 10 leader university. And what we also know is work is important. We all do the work, action is important at ground level. However, in order to get more people involved, we have to do advocacy. We have to make sure that what we're doing are widely disseminated across the world through the UN platforms that we have access to, not just in Paris or in Jamaica or, in Venezuela, but wider UN opportunities that really align our UNESCO higher education strategy with the UN priorities per year in contributing to the specific SDGs that's under review or being targeted at specific years. And let's say we have been quite successful in linking with not only the 3 major events that takes place at the UN headquarters in New York every year, including the Economic and Social Council, the High-Level Political Forum, and the General Assembly that takes place in April, July, and September, so that the outcome of what we're doing here for higher education and sustainability in science, technology, and innovation can actually feed into some of the negotiations and discussions. And at the same time, we also have been engaged, let's say, doing a global tour to advocate for the onboarding of the network. So we have been to Asia Pacific, we have been to Africa, And we're really hoping that this year we'll be able to go to the Caribbean and make sure that we onboard those universities, not only as part of the South-South University Cooperation, but really also to highlight the importance of small island developing states in joining this initiative and really gather together to strengthen the potential impact that you can create all together through the collective resources, through the collective solutions that you'll be able to do. And also, we have also been working with the civil society organizations to make sure that we bring on board different partners, us, part of the support system for the South-South University Cooperation Network to support sustainability. So with that said, a little more information on the bootcamp. Among the 10 leader university, we have included 4 from the Latin America and the Caribbean region. And with that said, University of West Indies is one of them that we're really honored and really grateful can be on board, because when we had the initial discussion with the international office, we have received this really overwhelmingly exciting message that us, let's say the headquarters of University of West Indies, the capacity is really to highlight Jamaica's role as a leader among some other islands across the Caribbean area, so that the impact does not just stay at the university in Jamaica, but also satelliting to other places. And to us, this is really critical, and we're very grateful for what Jamaica has been providing at the ministerial level, the commission in particular, as well as at the institutional level. And for specifically the bootcamp, we're very honored to also be able to receive 7 groups of nominations of students and a total of 41 students to join this. And why is this critical? Because the students who have been engaged are well informed on the different key skills in order for them to design some solutions that are contextualized, that are fit for this specific regions. And imagine that when we actually start with a scale up and expansion process for this network to grow within the islands, those 41 students who have joined will be the leaders, who are not the future leaders, but the actual present leaders who will be able to further inform and to further engage the other students on guiding them through what will be essential moving towards a more sustainable practice at institutional level, communal level, and actually take actions. And the overall bootcamp entails a 16-week of practices. It's all together with 12 master classes led by 11 experts that are from the civil society, the UN, the public sector, and the private sector as well. And we also had 18 coaches who actually provided the mentorship every single week upon the conclusion of the semester of those master classes, and really understanding what students are needing in terms of designing those solutions. So that entails a total of 250 coaching sessions, and along with that, we also organized one fireside chat for everyone to get together and talk about the practicality of South-South cooperation or interregional partnership towards the contribution of sustainability and what we can do all together. Once again, with this very intergenerational approach, however, put students and the young people at the core in understanding what we can support every one of them in realizing their potentials and actually be able to move to the solution phase and actually create real impact on the field. And let's say if, by the end of the day, which is actually going on last week and this week, in terms of the solution pitches, we have 21 in total. Some of the teams have not yet submitted, but that engages 225 students in total, which once again, Jamaica is part of it. And we look forward to any outcome that they can potentially present. And we're moving to the working group, which is an activity that's going on now. And we're very happy to have the opportunity to share with everyone today, so that if anyone is interested, we'd love to have a further conversation to see in what way that we will be able to onboard the potential interest into the working group. So the working group, very importantly, it's really to create collectively to a 2026 to 2030 action plan. And why is this period important? First of all, it's going to be the last 5 years towards the realization of the 2015 to 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And at the same time, upon the conclusion of 2030, we're going to move into the next phase of global agenda, which means technically the last 2 years, which is 2029 and 2030, will be really, really important and very intense in terms of negotiating for what will be in the next agenda cycle. And as you may have realized, higher education is often considered the luxury in the education system, yet the actual bridge of knowledge, of practice, has not really been, highlighted enough on its importance and its potential engagement in contributing to any, global priorities or agenda setting and this and that. So it is our responsibility to make sure that we work with those higher education institutions to come up with something that's actionable, that can provide evidence, and those evidence and the outcome can actually be eventually used in the negotiation of the next agenda cycle to indicate the role of higher education. And for that, we need everyone's support. And we need everyone's support not after the agenda is already set and we all contribute, but actually beforehand, so that we can collectively co-create this important policy agenda moving forward. And with that said, based on the different functions of higher education, we have divided those working groups into teaching and learning for sustainability, science, research, and innovation for sustainable development, community and industry engagement and service for sustainable development, as well as sustainable management and administration. This is the collective efforts among all the leader and member universities. And to highlight the member universities, we are onboarding on a rolling basis. It's just a simple form that you need to fill and indicate for now which working group or which functions of higher education that you feel your university is very much at strength and you like to contribute to the discussion. And we will have a touch-based interview on understanding the baseline practices and then invite you to the working group. So basically, that process allows leader universities and member universities to really get together, with half of the participants being professors, researchers, managers, and the other half being students, because by the end of the day, the students are someone who need to really share the experiences on what higher education have already contributed and what they hope higher education can contribute, as well as the actions that they hope to take in those areas. So with that said, the phase 1 exploration are really on 3 working meetings among the 4 working groups to focus on the current practices and success stories of universities in contributing to sustainability across the 4 thematic areas, the gaps that have not yet been addressed, either with a solution already or not yet, and would appreciate collective efforts or references even from other universities or regions in order to come up with something that's more solid. And third, the priorities. The priorities are really to understand that what are some of the university ambitions, so that it can be used to support with a synergy or let's say consensus making among different universities and see, what we can work on together as the bottom line and what we need to do individually to push the bottom line to the actual efforts that we hope to make at institutional level towards, the need that's tailored by our individual university. And upon the exploration phase, what we will do is that we will create a collective document based on the reviews and the interventions from the participating universities, and have more or less a framework of moving into the second round of negotiation on understanding what would be feasible as actionable projects and initiatives that we're moving into 2026 and 2030. And this is really to not only have this dream of okay, let's establish a lab at every single university to support with the technology innovation, or let's establish a collective office for all the 4 regions to contribute to the big names in the tech industry. No, it's not just dreams, but a dream that needs to be negotiated to a feasible, actionable plan to actually be implemented with a clear strategy and commitment across the different universities. And those strategies and commitment would involve, I have A, you have B, she has C, he has D. And what can we do if we look at this collective resources or strength and expertise we have to pull something through, which in normal circumstances, if we do it individually, that will not be able to do. And with that said, I mean, the phase 1 will go from January to February, which we actually just finished only the first round of the meeting on sharing the good practices and moving forward. And then phase 2 is going to go from March to June. And we're really hoping that the document that we have created together will be used for the high-level negotiations that comes up for the high-level political forum, for UNGA, and for the different opportunities that at least, I mean, let's say from the UN level, that we can support with connecting with different member states to support not only South-South cooperation, but also triangular cooperation. So with that said, the plan for 2025. Currently, we have the coverage for 22 countries, but we're hoping that we can expand to 40 countries. And although we have 43 universities now, we're hoping to expand to 50, but we're very confident that we're going to go a lot more beyond that. But what's very important is that we really hope to expand this country coverage. And among this country coverage, one of the very important things is also to expand the collective efforts among the small island developing states. I mean, we had the 4th small island developing state conference last year in Antigua. However, I mean, higher education wasn't, let's say, a very forefront, highly promoted topic, even though we had one session there hosted by the UNHQ colleagues from New York. But still, I mean, we got to do what we got to do. And if we have this collaboration and the network that's in place and acknowledging the leadership role of Jamaica moving forward with this institutional cooperation exchange that you already have, we're really hoping to work together to move forward. And at the same time, this year, after the working group is rolling into a more stabilization period, we're going to start the onboarding of partners. And the partners will include the public sector, the private sector, the civil society, and ensure that it's not just universities talking to each other within the network, but rather university being the bridge in connecting with the government, with the community, with the industry to make sure that the outstanding and really valuable evidence and solutions being provided within this network will actually be able to be transferred out into actual practices in reality, in society, in something that not only us who work in higher education should work on, but also call for wider participants and support. And every support counts. I mean, there's no big or small. What we always believe is that in this ideal world, if everyone contributes the piece of their expertise, we're going to reach a lot more collective power in order to make something happen. So with that said, everyone has a role, and we look forward not only to onboarding the higher education stakeholders who are present today, but also other partners, because we will find a relevant role for you to participate and engage, and then also benefit from it, given your visions and ambition for moving forward. With that said, the planned activities for 2025 is that we are wrapping up the bootcamp, and let's say we are actually doing the pitching last week and this week, and we're going to move into the prototyping phase, which every single team actually is not just talking about a solution that they've created, but they actually have this tangible product where they can show and understand what its application in real use. And at the same time, we're also working very actively to the expansion of it so that those science, technology, and innovation focused solutions and training can actually support with the tailored sustainability needs in whatever context it entails. And following that, once the prototype are more or less ready, we're going to do a series of global roadshows. And by global roadshows, is really global. We're going to set up a few of physical ones at the leader university who have joined us for the bootcamp and already have teams presenting a valid prototype. And at the same time, we're also going to work on organizing 4 virtual roadshows, 1 targeting each region, for each prototype to be presented to the stakeholders in that region to already explore the transferability of the solution from one context to another. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? What would be the key partners together with the resources that are relevant to make it happen? And at the same time, the working group, as we mentioned, I mean, last year was really the prep phase, and this year was really the action that's taking place. And we're really hoping that the 2026 to 2030 action plan can be solid and be presented and be used to not only guide the implementation, but also to feed into the high-level political and more or less the policy negotiation to prepare for the next phase of policy agenda making. And at the same time, we're also expanding on the partnership, the leader university, the member university, and other partners, and whoever will be interested to learn more and contribute. And more, let's say, importantly, we're gonna have a South-South University Cooperation Network Intergenerational Global Forum that will take place at some point this year. We don't know the exact date, but rest assured, Jamaica will be invited. And we really hope that by bringing together the existing leader university, member universities into the forum, along with the potential member universities and partners, we will be able to have this first, kickoff and launch of the official action before we, have to see each other virtually again and coordinate across different regions. And very importantly, the reason why it's called intergenerational is that once again, we really hope that different stakeholders can play an important role in supporting our young people to act and to, in a way, take the lead into what future actually entails. Let's say some of the challenges and lessons learned in 2024 to really carry over to 2025 is that we did observe that some leader universities did not engage as expected, and some of the students kind of disappear from time to time, and sometimes students and coaches express intention to withdraw. And this, let's say, it's a challenge that's, of course, related to our current, world situation. For example, we do have Lebanon as one of our leader university, the country where one of our leader university came from. And given the situation of something, really changed in their safety and security and national security situation, they didn't have a lot of choice. But at the same time, we also realized that it's specifically the science, technology, and innovation topic. Why? Because it's a highly demanding area where it requires high level of social science skills to identify the very precise problems with an evidence-based approach, and then leading to real technical design. And that technical design is really hardware and software based that requires a lot of background, making sure that higher education institution actually provided the relevant and high quality and fit training for students to be able to design something that they can make a real tangible product out of it. And let's say, although we do have professors and university managers and researchers who guide students across the process from the challenge identification to the solution design, and even later on to the solution transfer, the key is that what can we do to prepare students in a world where someday they will need to take the solo lead among and learn to work among themselves without the real experts guiding them on the technicality perspective. And as much as, the solutions, some of them are really outstanding, it's also an alert or a lesson learned for us that what should we focus in terms of building the capacity also among the university intergenerational stakeholders to make sure that the professors are also equipped with the skills to better inform students on what's coming up and the actual requirement, and then the actual transfer of knowledge, not from the books, but actually from the hands, from the heart, and from making something solid out of it. And building on that, some of the solutions we have, we really try to expand the outreach and make sure that if our pool is wide enough, we're hoping that there will be more, even for percentage or probability wide, we will have more that will be able to move forward committedly, not only from their passion, but also from their capacity. And a commitment also from our two UN offices. It's that we really hope that we are trying our best to accommodate the tailored needs, either from uncontrollable factors or from the actual challenges with certain technicality, we can allow universities or higher education stakeholders to understand that we're there all together, not that the burden is only on all of you when it comes to sustainability and science, technology, and innovation. So thank you so much. I will say that I will stop right here for now. And once again, really, really grateful for our collaboration and partnership with Jamaica on a very consistent basis. And we look forward to working together more this year. Thank you so much.
Morning again, everyone. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Miss Lou. Lily? Thank you for sharing, Lily. We have 2 gifts before we field your questions to Lily, and I hope you are listening. So these are easy questions. Which university in Jamaica is a part of this network, South University Network? Which university? Okay. You want to come for your gift quickly? All right. Question 2. How many countries does South-South Cooperation have within their network currently? 20.
Thank you so much.
I'm
really sorry. I'm not sure if I caught the first question. I heard the second question on the number of countries, but not the first question.
Okay, so the first question I asked was which university in Jamaica is a part of the network? And we were told University of the West Indies, yes.
Should I answer now, or someone else is gonna talk?
Oh, it's audience interaction. After this question, so I had asked how many countries currently are a part of the network. I was told 22, so I'm giving my gift away, and then we'll start to get your questions so that you can answer them. Okay, thank you for that. All right.
Should I answer now?
No, they answered.
Oh.
Yes, so you see your audience was paying attention. So I asked them Yes, I asked them some questions and they provided me with answers, so they were participating. So what that means is that when they are now asking you questions, it's because they were actually listening. So I'm opening the floor now for questions to Lily. Could I get our first question for Lily?
Sure. For the first, let's say the first few questions, currently we have 22 countries involved, which Jamaica is the only country from the Caribbean, and we're hoping to improve on that situation. But at the same time, when it comes to small island developing states, we also have Fiji, and we also have Mauritius. And we're also hoping that collectively, we're not only growing the Caribbean or Latin America and the Caribbean, and not only the small island developing state, but global South overall. And we do see the critical leadership role of Jamaica. And also the current university that have joined the South-South University Cooperation Network for sustainability is University of West Indies. But what we can do is after this meeting, we can send the South-South University Cooperation Vision Board to the conference organizer, as well as the link of express of interest to join this network for those two information to be further disseminated to the participants. So if you're interested, we're more than happy to move forward with the process of onboarding you and explore what we can do together.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions? Lee, just want to say thank you. I do have a question. Can you just give us a summary of the benefits to join the network?
The summary of what?
Benefits. Benefits to members who join. What are some of the benefits?
Well, let's say we don't have, okay, to join as a member university, let's say, we don't need any official documentation or very long administrative process. We have waived all that for free. We will start with the form of expression of interest, and my unit will reach out to arrange an interview to understand the current status of institutional efforts on sustainability, as well as institutional situation for international cooperation, especially in South-South cooperation. And with that said, part of the interview is also to understand the commitment level of the potential member universities' engagement. And we do understand that not all universities are the same. So are their strengths. And it's completely fine if it's only a university that focuses on teaching and learning, or that's only a research institute. Totally, totally fine. And what we're hoping is that each university, whoever joins, can contribute your respective strength and your own expertise to engage in the conversation. And every single one of you deserves to have a voice.
Thank you for that.
So we'll try to make it as simple as possible. However, what we can do is that if you need, let's say, an outstanding MOU with the university to move forward, or you need administrative filing with your higher management, we can also provide an official letter of support, and we can also support with the MOU drafting and signing.
Okay, I think I have one question in the back. Were you asking? Go ahead.
Thank you, Lily, for your presentation. Just want to ask, what would a successful collaborative model look like between higher education institutions and private sector or industry as they develop these solutions? What would that model look like for us?
Sounds good. So among the, let's say when we started the South-South University Cooperation Network, we had 8 visions that we hope to realize among them. And among the 8 visions, one of them is on the technology and innovation transfer. And this will not only support with, let's say, the entrepreneurial practices among the universities, but also engaging the partner pillar which include the industry partners to join this transfer process and understanding not only black and white on paper on the successful models of technology transfer, but also engaging the private sector on what is needed, for example, on the entrepreneurial education, on the innovation system, and leveraging the resources that they have in allowing universities to design those evidence-based solutions to the evidence-based societal challenges and work all together towards it. And when we talk about technology and innovation transfer, it's not just universities from a country to only work with companies in a country, but rather when the solutions are being presented, they're going to be presented to a pool of partners, including industry partners from different regions, and explore whether this particular solution has the capacity to be transferred with a certain level of adaptation and adjustment based on the specific context of other regions. So we would say that this will be the #1 model to engage industry in already the conversation of the technology and innovation transfer. And another way of engaging the industry is really on understanding the resource sharing perspective and the funding opportunity. Because one of the challenges that we see with higher education institutions in the Global South, it's let's say the infrastructure. You know, for certain topics of science, technology, and innovation, there's just no laboratory with the relevant equipment. However, the industries have. Some of the companies that are based there or somewhere that's not too far away, or maybe far away, but ready to finance the actual resource sharing mission to support through the lab and their in-kind contribution to do it. And that's something that we hope to achieve. And let's say the third opportunity or model we hope to have is on the networking potential, because in a lot of cases, industries have the need. They understand the market very well. They understand what would need to be required to fulfill the, let's say, the minimal requirement to launch something in the market. It probably doesn't have to be as advanced as what comes out of the university as groundbreaking technology, but that's something that can actually be used at communal and market level already. And through this networking modality, we also hope that university and industry can work together on understanding in what way university can also better address the industrial demands. And along with that, we're hoping it can be tagged with some of the funding opportunities, and especially considering that maybe the industry from a country can actually have coverage in 10 different countries. But none of the university from any of the 10 countries have the full capacity to realize through a solution. However, through the network, maybe 3 universities out of the countries already have this collective expertise to work together in providing a solution to the industry. So let's say some of the visions are interconnected, but by the end of the day, we really hope that the foundation is encourage understanding that's evidence-based and collaboration-based. And we want to make sure that when it comes to practice level, there's less and less gap in between the university innovation system and the industry innovation demand, so that we can close the circle of the ecosystem.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, we're taking the last question from a student, and then we'll wrap.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. My question to Miss is, how could high schools be included in that model?
How could high schools be included in the model that you speak?
Okay, if I understand it correctly, is how can high school students contribute to the process?
Yes.
Okay, well, as you know, high school students are often the, let's say, the emerging higher education leaders who are transiting into higher education. And our work although the mandate is on higher education, actually expand to those transitioning in and transitioning out. So for higher education, for high school students, we also open the door for you to join the discussion, including the working groups. So that, it's a design of the higher education that you hope to see when you join the higher education itself. So with that said, we welcome high school students as well. And we also encourage that when you are at the stage of really exploring what school or what kind of education you are going into, maybe you can look even further to see what kind of role you want to play in a society and what kind of impact that you want to drive when you are eventually equipped with the adequate knowledge and the skills to move forward. And from that perspective, what you would hope that higher education can support you with the understanding that no one is superpowered. There will always be some gaps here and there, but what would you like higher education to fulfill you with what you need? And at the same time, what you would hope or what you foresee, what you can contribute in realizing the potential that you also see in yourself. So, shared responsibility, not just on education system, but yourself. And the future is yours.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Lily, so much for sharing, reminding us the importance of collaboration as it relates to sustainable development. We look forward to working with you, and we know that many of the universities sitting in this space will become a part of the movement of South-South Cooperation Network. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. I appreciate it.
Good morning, symposium attendees. So let me take advantage of the already established protocols. So we welcome Leader of the Opposition and Member of Parliament for the constituency that Trenchtown Polytechnic College is located, Mr. Mark Golding. Also, I see Miss Claudette Houghton, Principal of Brownstown Community College, in the audience, so we welcome Miss Houghton. Mrs. Michelle Degou, Senior Education Officer, also joins us, so we welcome Mrs. Degou. And now we invite them back on for entertainment, after which Mr. Mark Golding will address the symposium attendees. Thank you.
Millions of apologies. I'm really sorry. Am I supposed to be here as well? Okay. Well, if if not, I'm also happy to go. It's past midnight in Beijing now, but happy to stay as well if needed.
Thank you. Just clap. She's off now? Hey man, let's talk with her and indicate to her.
Hard to come after that. I assume all protocols have been duly observed. I would just like to acknowledge Dr. Edward Watson, who is the principal of the Trenchtown Polytechnic College, the first principal, and all other principals of other community colleges here. I know Brownstown is present. I'm heading there shortly, so. And other members of staff of the institutions present, and of course students. And I think there are high school students here as well, which is great. Well, it's an honor actually to be here, because I hear myself right here about 3 seconds later. there's a little echo there. I don't know if it's possible to. Yeah, if you don't mind. Hearing myself once is enough. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. Yeah, I was saying that, it's an honor and a privilege to be here because this is an inaugural conference. This is the first conference in this series. I assume it will be a series. And on the issue of applied research, and being part of any inaugural event is a significant thing because one hopes that it will grow from strength to strength and make a big impact over time on the young minds who are present and the not so young minds who are also present. So I want to congratulate the Trenchtown Polytechnic College and Dr. Edwards Watson and her team for having the vision and broad approach to what education and training mean, that she would embark upon establishing a series of conferences like this dedicated to applied research. I think you should give her and them a round of applause. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And from my standpoint, it is gratifying and fills me with hope for the future and admiration for those who are charting the future, that an institution like the Trenchtown Polytechnic College or Community College is not satisfied with just focusing on delivering course content to its students, as important and as central as that is, but is looking to push the envelope, establish new horizons, so that what it offers its staff, and of course, most importantly, its students, is going to be an ever-increasing range of opportunities to be networked into partnerships and collaborations within Jamaica and internationally. And that is what a conference like this has the potential to do. The lady who spoke before the excellent drumming, I don't believe she was in Jamaica. She's in China, Beijing, so she's God knows how many hours ahead of us. But it just shows that the world is a place where we can have that type of activity, that type of collaboration, that type of sharing across boundaries and across cultures and across political and economic systems. And that type of sharing and collaboration enriches our own understanding of life, our own understanding of the forces at play in our own society, and enables us to be a more effective people as we move forward in life. So big up again to Dr. Watson and team for putting this together. Yeah. We're convening this conference at a time of considerable uncertainty in the world. You know, when I was your age as students, when I was a student, one had a fairly clear path forward in life. One could make some choices and assumptions that would hold true. And as long as you applied yourself and avoided making serious mistakes in your life, you had a fairly comforting assurance that you would make the progress that you were hoping to make. A lot has changed since then. We went through an era of globalization, which essentially was the whole world sharing, collaborating, receiving and sending investment, goods, and trade in services with as little limitation as possible, and a set of rules administered through the WTO, the World Trade Organization, to ensure that there was some kind of level playing field. A lot has happened since that. The era of the 1990s was when that kind of evolved, and we are now in the 2020s, and we're seeing great change. For one, we're seeing where the system of governance, which has been dominant for many years now, of liberal democracy, which respects freedom of expression, freedom of political association, and other basic rights, civil and political and human rights, is being questioned and is in fact, in many cases, being abandoned or departed from by a diverse range of countries, many of them very powerful countries. And then, as a manifestation of that playing out, you see things like countries abandoning the principle of free trade and going back to saying, well, we have to protect our industries from unfair competition from overseas, so we will use tariffs and so on to do that. And of course, a small country like Jamaica, with a negative balance of trade with the rest of the world, and an imperative to grow our exports of goods and services, it is somewhat daunting to see the prospect of those principles which at least assured you, if the rules were adhered to, that you would have a chance to get into other markets and so on. That is not, you can't take that for granted, and it's a much more transactional world that we're in. And if you want something, you might have to be prepared to give something else in exchange. And the balance of what is given and received may not be equal, depending on who has the most bargaining power. And the advance of technology that is rapidly accelerating is also daunting. So Jamaica has established a global services industry in the last 10 years or so. Many people call it BPO, but it's expanded beyond business process outsourcing to include other forms of providing services at a more affordable cost to businesses that need them. And those services can be very basic or more sophisticated services. And Jamaica has managed to achieve growth in employment, formal employment, because of that, the emergence of that industry, despite the decline of other industries like sugar and bananas, and even bauxite and alumina, which were the mainstays of our economy 30 years ago. But now we see that this new industry is under threat because technology, through artificial intelligence, is rapidly providing new opportunities for businesses to replace human activity with intelligent machine activity. And, you know, ChatGPT was the first disruptive emerging technology that I think caught the imagination of the average person. But then just last week, DeepSeek, I think it's called, a new technology which nobody thought or had heard of, suddenly came on the market at a fraction of the cost of developing the systems that were leading up to then, ChatGPT and other such systems, and with open source technology so that there's no proprietary ownership of the system. And we saw in one day $1 trillion worth of value disappear on the international stock markets because all those companies that had been developing these very expensive systems that everyone thought were going to be the champions of the future, all of a sudden there was an example coming out of China that this could be done at a small fraction of the cost and using much less energy than those other systems use. This is just an example of why we need to be focusing on applied research and adaptive approaches to what's coming so that we can ready ourselves so that whatever happens, our skills are going to be needed. So the skills of being able to use and apply technology, you don't have to necessarily produce the technology, but when it's produced, how do you apply it to make it functional and useful and, you know, enhance the efficiency of whatever enterprise you're in? That's a very critical skill. I mean, I grew up in an era, when I was at your age, if I had to do an essay, I had to write it with a pen on paper. And I couldn't research on the internet. I had to go to a library if I didn't have the book and sit down in the library for hours and hours to prepare myself for that. I can't imagine any of you have done that kind of thing because nowadays it's all on screen through the internet available. So you need to have and develop those skills that say whatever the technology is, businesses, government are going to need to use it. They're going to need to make it work for them. And those are going to be skills that will be valuable in the future. Similarly, interpersonal skills, team building, how you relate to each other, communication skills, how well you can present your ideas across without offending people or engaging them and getting them to buy into your position. These are very valuable skills that we can develop. So I think it's important that an institution like our Polytechnic and other community colleges be at the cutting edge of adapting Jamaica's training systems to the world that is evolving. The universities are much more ponderous and slow. You know, they have their own well-established ways of doing things, and it's not so easy for them to be as nimble and flexible as you can be, and as you are demonstrating here today. So I just encourage that approach, thinking outside the box, building partnerships and alliances and collaborations, especially with industry in Jamaica. You know, we have some very successful businesses here. Many of them offer training. Can we partner with them? Can we have synergistic relationships where our students get exposure to hands-on work and the approach to learning in an environment where you're expected to be disciplined and productive because you're actually involved in the enterprise? And can their staff come to our polytechnics and our community colleges to learn some of the theoretical underpinnings of aspects of what they do? The way forward is through these types of collaborations, because you can create value without having to expend the money that would otherwise be required. And we're always operating in a universe of limited resources. So the type of thinking that's being demonstrated here today is the kind of thinking that we need in order to move forward, to survive and to thrive. So congratulations again, and I'm glad you're all here to participate. I hope you find it interesting and that you learn a lot from it. And I wish you all the very best. May God bless you and keep you always. One love.
All right, thank you for that, MP. So now we move into the concurrent sessions. We will have Dr. Charmaine Bisesa, coming in from the University of Guyana. She'll be exploring and she'll be looking at an exploration of students' perceptions of AI-jurism at a higher education institution. So that is in this room. So if you're interested in that presentation, then you will stay here. Then we have Professor Charmaine Barrett in Caucus Room 1. She'll be looking at unlocking teacher reflexivity for the 21st century classroom. We will also have Dr. Ivora Thompson in Caucus Room 2, and she'll be looking at promoting and supporting student completion within online engagement experiences at AB Community College. And finally, for this set of concurrent session, we will have Mr. Carlington Utah, the impact of AI technology on the transportation sector. And that paper is focused on Jamaica. That is in Caucus Room 3. So you can follow on your programs. We are running 4 papers right now. This conference room, Caucus Rooms 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Maybe it's not audience. Maybe. All right, so if you're interested in the AI and robotics presentation, you're going to Caucus Room 3 for Mr. Utah. If you're interested in the presentation regarding plagiarism and AI, you are staying in this room. If you are interested in the presentation about online engagement, you are in Caucus Room 2. This one focuses on AI and plagiarism.
Jamaica.